Okay, guys, it's time for our next card, and oh my gosh, it's just so pretty. So for this card, we are going to start with a piece of, let's see, we're going to start with our, sorry, I'm just trying to decide. We're going to start with our piece of watercolor paper, and we're going to create a watercolor background. That way it'll have some time to dry between now and when we do the rest of our card. So I'm going to get my water brush. This is our watercolor wash brush. Ooh, I may not have enough water left in here, but we'll see what we can do. Give it a good squeeze to get the water flowing through. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do is just run some water over this so that it's a little bit damp. Okay, and then what I want to do is I'm going to use some Bermuda Bay ink. Squeeze the ink pad to the lid, and I'm just going to pick up some of this color and wash it across like so. Now I'm not going all the way to the top. I'm going to leave that blank, and then I'm just going to let it gradually get lighter as I go down. So it's darkest at the top and then lighter at the bottom. So again, I'll pick up a little bit more of this. It's dark at the top, and then let it get light as it goes. So it's kind of an ombre look. Okay, that's all there is to it. Nothing terribly fancy. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. Then we'll do our stamping. Okay, now for the stamping on this, I'm going to use my scrap of white once again. And this time, let me set that aside. This time I'm going to do the other larger bloom. Okay, so this one I'm going to stamp in some, let's see, crushed curry. Oops, that's pumpkin pie. We want crushed curry. Okay, so for this, I'm going to stamp off the first layer of ink, and then I will stamp that on my scrap here. So I get kind of a nice soft look. Then I'll take the second layer of this stamp. We'll ink that up in full strength crushed curry. And then we'll stamp this one over the top. That looks pretty good. Ooh, not bad. All right. Then the third one, we're going to do our third layer, but I'm going to let this sit for just a second to make sure it completely dries. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. We'll come back to that. It's kind of what we're doing here. Then I'll take, you've got a piece of soft seafoam. On the soft seafoam piece, I'm going to take and stamp the leaves, one of each of the 3 different leaves. And this is, again, our Granny Apple Green ink pad. I think I might need to re-ink this. There we go. So I've got one of each of those. Okay. Now, make sure this is good and dry. If you have an embossing buddy, you can drop that on top of there just to make sure. And then what we're going to do is stamp this with Versamark. Okay, so I'll ink that up and then stamp it down. All right, and then we're going to heat emboss this with our white powder. Again, you want to make sure it's really dry before you do this so it doesn't pick up on the yellow. We only want it on that detail portion. Okay, we'll heat set this, and then we're going to do a little bit more stamping. Oh, and you know what? As long as I've got this, let me heat this baby up to make sure it's good and dry. Okay, now one fun thing we can do to this background piece is take one of your paint water brushes. So I'm going to get the water kind of flowing through this one. There we go. Starting to, there we go. Just want to make sure that is nice and wet. All right, now I've got, this is a block that probably came from a Stampin' Up! Kit, but you can see it's got a really sharp edge. So our regular blocks with the curved beveled edges won't work. You need a sharp edge. So what I'm going to do is flick water onto my background. Okay. You really need your brush to be kind of juicy wet. There we go. Now you can see there's some water on here, right? Now what I want to do with that is take a Kleenex and then dab that water off. Let me grab a Kleenex quick. Just right outside my reach. I'm going to touch this onto the paper, and then you can see it leaves a little, it takes some of that color away and it just gives you a splotchy background, which is kind of fun. Okay. And you can do that a little more if you want, or you can leave it as is. Okay. Next up, what I want to do is my flower is going to go right here. Well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do my die cutting. So I've got a few things to die cut. I've got my 3 leaves. I've got my flower. I'm going to take this piece of vellum and die cut that border piece that's right here. And then this is going to be die cut from vellum. I recommend running it through your machine this way and maybe once or twice running it through. All those pieces should fall out then. Then you've got a piece of Whisper White. I'm going to emboss this. You can use any folder that you want. I'm going to use the Scripty 3D embossing folder, the handwriting. You could use the Subtle, the Tasteful Textile, any kind of, another one that would be really pretty is the, it's the one that looks like a tin roof. I can't think of the name of it. It's got squares. Anyway, any embossing folder will work. I'll do all of that and be right back. All right, I've got my panel embossed. My pieces are die cut here. We have a little bit more stamping and then we'll put this card together. So first, my flower is going to go right about here on my card. But what I want to do is add a little bit of pizzazz to it, if you will. So I wanted to add these little thingies as well as some of the little flowers. So there's like this little mini flower bud, bloom, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple of those. Okay, so let's see. I've got this one. I feel like there might be one more. Okay. Yeah, there should be one more. That's like 2. Okay, I found my other flower. So what we're going to do is stamp a couple of these little stems in some Granny Apple Green ink. And these will kind of go up from our floral image. So there's one that kind of goes that way. And then this other one will kind of go like that. Then I'll take some crushed curry. We'll stamp off a layer of that and put that one right there. And then this one, we'll stamp off a layer of that and put it over here like so. Then there's the little kind of centers to these. So we'll stamp this one full strength and this one on there like so. Isn't that pretty? And then one last thing were these little kind of, I don't know what you would call those, blooms, buds, what have you. We'll have those coming out like this, and that looks really awesome. But wait till we put this piece with it. They line up really nicely, and they're pretty easy to arrange. So we're just going to set this in here like so. And look at how awesome that is. So pretty. Okay, so let's go ahead and arrange this. I'm going to start by putting my vellum piece down, and we're just going to put this kind of right below our edge right there. And then this is just going to kind of peek up above and off the sides just a touch, and that's fine. We'll be covering this up, so don't worry. Then we've got our gorgeous flower, which we will also pop up. And we want to put quite a bit underneath it. So what I'm going to do is actually just take and put these two dimensionals kind of back to back right in the center here. And then we're going to tuck several leaves underneath this. Okay, so I'm going to position this right about there on here. And then I'll be able to tuck in my leaves. Okay, so I'll put this one, I kind of like to arrange them first to make sure everything is where I want them to be. That one right there, and this one probably right about there. Oh, isn't this beautiful? So gorgeous. Okay, so I'll adhere these in permanently with a glue dot. And it's just so beautiful. It's okay if that sticks out because we've got some layers to put this all onto before we are fully done. There's that one. And last but not least, this one. And that looks pretty good. I might have this one come down just a little bit more straight down like that. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to take my scrap piece once again, and right here I'm going to stamp my sentiment in some Bermuda Bay ink. And then this says, wishing you all things fabulous. I'll trim this off. So it's about 1/2 inch. And then I will punch the end, as always, with my punch. Okay, I think if I put it in there, yep, that will look just fine. All right, so this is going to get popped up right over the top, like so. We're going to cover up part of this flower, and then I'll put a little adhesive here and then a dimensional on the other side, because that'll rest on my flower, and then the rest will kind of be off of the edge of my flower, like so. Oh my goodness, this is just so beautiful. There we are. Okay, now to finish this up, we have a few things I'd like to add. First, this whole panel I'm going to pop up onto my card. So we'll use quite a few dimensionals for this. Here's a bunch I pulled off. Just because this is such a gorgeous card, I want to make sure that this does adhere nicely to everything, and that ought to do it. Okay, I've also got my embossed panel, and then of course my card. Oops, ooh, not good. There we go. Can't put that down yet. So let me fold my card base. This is So Saffron. And we'll adhere our embossed piece to this. And again, I use the Scripty 3D. You could use all kinds. Tin Tile, that's that one folder. All right. So we'll adhere that to our card. Oh, so pretty. Just love that. Let me get a little bit better crease on my fold. There we go. We'll pop this up over the top and position it on here like so. And then last but not least, we are going to spritz this with some of our Clear Wink Estella. So giving that a good smack. And when I do, I've got a little speckles of shimmer all over. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, so beautiful.